This is for Alexis, if that's if that's your name. This is for you. So I've been I've been making progress. I consider it progress. It's progress, even though it brings me into a deeper hole. That's the nature of the knowledge, self-knowledge. The nature of self-knowledge seems to be that every time you know more, you find out that there's more that you don't know. So I decided to tell you all of this stuff. Even though I don't trust you, and I have really good reason not to trust you or anyone. So what's been happening is, the reason I say I'm making progress is that the last several weeks I've been remembering things. And I'm remembering the things. As I'm remembering them without the filter. The filter is, oh, we talked about last time, you're crazy. You just you just have a little problem. You're just different. That's, nobody can take that seriously. Like, where do you come up with this stuff? And that's as a filter, okay? The gaslighting. I'm letting go of that. Very difficult to do. Very, very difficult to let go of that. But the more I let go of it, the more these memories come up. And the memories that come up don't make any sense. So what that means is, for me, to be very clear, is that someone manipulated me. Someone or something manipulated me. Had to have been, because there's no possible way that my life could have been the way it was. Nobody's life has that many coincidences. I'm sorry. Nobody's life has that many weird coincidences like mine. And that's why I always said my life is a Hollywood movie. And I really think that, I said that like long before I knew anything about the Truman Show. So I'm just going to leave off with the gaslighting, and I'm going to leave off with the self-apologetic statement, and to say that I do not know what is my name. I do not know where or when I was born. I do not know who are my parents or who they were. I can only say that it wasn't the people that I grew up with. Almost 100% sure. Leaving off with the gaslighting. Leaving it off. Because nothing makes sense. When I only remember that when I was growing up, when I was a young girl, I knew how to read. How is it that I don't remember a time when I didn't know how to read? That doesn't sound, But anyway, leaving off with the apologies. I don't remember a time when I didn't know how to read. I have memories of things that didn't happen, and what did happen, I cannot remember. I've come to that conclusion. And I have found that I have memories that disagree with each other about different things. So, someone or something is interfering with my consciousness because you can't have a memory of one particular thing and have it going two ways. Like I remember one thing and then I remember another thing that's different about the same subject. And now I can only remember one of those, so I've discovered two of those. And I'm just going to say I'm stopping the gaslighting. When I went to school, I was a head taller than everybody else in the class. I already knew how to read, so I didn't need to be taught how to read. I already knew how to write in cursive script. I knew how to write in cursive script when I went to school. That doesn't make any sense. But these are just the small things that don't make sense. These are the little accompanying things that don't make sense. I think that I was kidnapped or abducted. Another thing doesn't make sense. My sister told me that the mother, the woman who said she was my mother, that she used to beat me black and blue. My sister said to me that it was before I could speak. And now I realize that it makes sense to me that she was beating me because I was speaking a different language and she wanted me to stop. Because I remember, I remembered that this is what I have memories of memories. It's not like an active memory, but it's a memory of remembering. I remember that when I was a child, I used to dream in a different language. Then, after I went to Europe when I was 33 years old, actually I started going when I was earlier than that. It was 1983, I think. The first time I went to Europe was 1983. Because all of my passports are from 83. The first one was 83, the second one I got was 93, the third one I got was 2003. All three of those passports are lost or have been stolen. And the passport that I have now is good until 2029 because I let it expire for several years before I renewed it. So this is my fourth passport. So first time I went was in 1983, and I landed in Brussels, made my way to Germany, and immediately started speaking German. Pretty much immediately. I went to a few weeks I was at my friend's house, or some weeks or some days I was at my friend's house with her parents, her mother and her father, stepfather. And then I met her in Schwarzwald, in a little town called Freiburg im Breisgau. It's in Schwarzwald in the Black Forest. Very cute little town. And I stayed there in her grandmother's, formerly her grandmother's apartment. Her grandmother had passed, I think, when we stayed in that apartment. Tiny little apartment right outside of the town center. And my girlfriend, my friend, she left. She left me there. I went into the town and I just started speaking German. I just started talking to the shopkeepers, telling them I want this much, this much red beets, I want these many carrots, I want some potatoes, I want blah blah. So I just started right away. That was in 1983. Of course, I didn't continue speaking the German until I went back to there when I was 33 years old in 1989, so 6 years later. However, at some point between 1983 and 1989, I remembered that, wow, this is the language that I used to dream when I was a child. When I was a little girl, I used to dream in this language. Then there is the fact that when I was a young woman, I remember several times, I don't remember exact, I remember many times people saying to me that I had an accent, that I didn't speak pure accent-free English. They always said that I was somewhere from Sweden, Netherlands, like that. So they always put me speaking a Germanic language somewhere in Europe. And I always said, no, I grew up here, which is what I believed at the time, and what I have believed ever since. Then the next thing is, if I stop gaslighting myself, the name that I was given, that I answer to, that's in my passport, I never, ever, ever, ever in my life was able to feel comfortable with that name. I've always felt that that's not my name. The feeling of it's not my name didn't present itself as it's not your name. It presented itself as I feel disgusted when I hear this name. I feel disgusted. I feel uncomfortable. I, to this day, cannot walk up to a person and say, I am, and then say this name, because I'm not that. And I know for 100% that I'm not that name, that that's not me. I know it. I've always known it. I didn't like my first name. I hated my middle name, and I was appalled, disgusted, and I loathed the last name. Never have I ever been able to tell anyone, this is who I am, and then speak that name. I cannot speak the name even now. I can't speak the name because that's not me. That has never been me. So somehow my name was changed. And I didn't have any, say in it. There may be other people who, but I'm going to stop with the apologetics. This is just all adding up. You can do it yourself. You can figure out what I was going to say. I'm stopping with the apologetics. In my entire life, I could never accept this name. That's not my name. So, 3 years ago, on the 2nd of February, 2022, that was 02. No, it was the 20th of February. It was 2002 2022. That was the date. That's why I'll never forget that date. My sister revealed to me that the man that I considered my father, that I thought was my father, was not my father. And it was like a huge weight fell from my shoulders, and I just went, and I took a big, deep breath and went, okay, now things are starting to make sense. But at that time, I still felt that the woman that raised me was my mother. But now I'm starting to know with certainty that that was not my mother. Either she was completely mad, completely insane, or she was not my mother. One of the two. And I'm thinking it's the second. Pretty sure that she was not my mother. So there's a whole raft full of memories of things that don't make sense, and these are just some of them. And the next one is, I never felt at home in my family home. Neither I ever felt at home in the United States. In my entire life, I did not feel that I belonged to this family. I did not feel that I belonged to this country. In my entire life. Next thing, this woman used to take me to have psychological tests done. My mother, this woman that told me that she was my mother. She used to take me to this guy who lived up the street, just a few houses away, and that he, he had a set of twins, girls, and my older sister, who was 7 years older than me, she used to play with those girls. We used to hang out together, but they weren't friends. They were kind of like frenemies, and they mistreated her. But that's neither here nor there. This mother took me to see that guy who's a psychologist to do psychological testing. And this woman that raised me did not have or did not want to spend money for me to have boots to cover my shoes in the winter when I had to walk to school a mile in the snow and a mile coming back with only one pair of shoes to my name. And my shoes would get wet every day, and I had to put on wet shoes every morning to go to school and walk through the snow. She didn't have money. She didn't want to spend money to give me an adequate pair of footwear for the snow. Why is she going to have money to take me to a psychologist to do testing? And there's nothing wrong with me. I was a good kid. I got straight A's at school. Didn't cause any problems to anyone, anywhere. I had arguments with my younger brother. We didn't get along, but I didn't do any harm to anyone. It wasn't causing any problems. Why is she taking me to a psychologist to have me tested? Why? She's not. He's doing it for free? It makes no sense. He's being paid by someone. Who is he being paid by? That's what I want to know. So, this gaslighting voice always tells me that I make things up, that I exaggerate, that, this and that and the other. But this list of things, because now I can't remember everything, but I've been talking to the recorder for a couple of weeks every day. And every day, last couple of days, nothing has come up, but also I've slacked off a little because it's very intense, because I have like little flashes of something like some memory from the past, and I don't talk about it because it's normal for me to have little flashes of memory all day long about things. But now I'm making it a point to sit down and open the recorder and start talking whenever something comes up, because I realize that there's something that's hanging on to that, why I'm remembering that thing, which is so which seems inconsequential, which seems totally like innocuous. So I'm starting to do that, and sometimes I have to talk into the recorder for an hour and a half, and suddenly something like completely crazy will surface. And I don't, it's really hard to do that work every day. I did that for a couple of weeks, and now it's like, it's just starting to, it gets to be too much at some point. So, but for many, many days in a row, all day long, I was having two, three, four different kinds of strange memories that don't add up. So, and right now I can't remember them all. But now we'll come to the thing that really doesn't make sense. And that is that I speak flawless German without an accent, which I learned in about 3 weeks. So in 83, I was in Germany. I started speaking German that time. I didn't keep up with it because I came back to the United States. In 89, I went there. I moved to Germany. I made the choice to leave the United States forever. At that point, I was like, I'm leaving and I'm not coming back. Something in me knew, something deep inside knew, you don't belong here, you belong over there. Something inside me knew this. So I went to Germany in 1989. Within about 3 weeks, I spoke enough German that people didn't bother asking me where I was from. Didn't bother asking me because they didn't know. Because by that time, my German was good enough that I didn't they couldn't figure out where I was from. They didn't know if I was from Sweden, Netherlands, Britain, whatever. They didn't know where I was from. So the first 2-3 weeks, people were asking, they would speak English to me, and then I would say, no, I'm going to speak German. But after the third week, nobody spoke English with me. Within 3 months, I was working. I was editing scientific texts, scientific journals, at a printer, correcting them for spelling, punctuation, and grammar. Within 3 months, my German was better than most German people. Within a year, I had absolutely no accent. Everybody said that my accent was pure Hanover dialect. Hanover. Everybody said that. Oh, you're from Hanover. I was like, no, I'm American. Oh, then your parents are from Hanover. I was like, no, my parents don't speak German. They're like, no, that's not possible. So it isn't possible. It really isn't possible. How is it possible that I spoke German like that? And here's another thing. This is the next thing. There's a whole raft of things in between this, and there's tons and tons and tons of things that don't make any sense, and I can't. This is the sprengt den Rahmen. It's like it falls. It's gonna make this recording way too long to explain all of this stuff. None of this makes sense. I was tricked. I was sent back to the United States. For 20 years, I didn't speak German, but a handful of times, 3, 4, 5 times, spoke German with somebody because I like the German language. It pulls me. The German language pulls me. 3, 4 months ago, I tried to make a tape. I tried to make a post in German. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't remember the words. I couldn't remember the grammar. I couldn't pronounce anything. My tongue felt like crazy, twisted in my mouth to speak the language. Then suddenly, about 2 weeks ago, I had a dream. I had a dream, and it wasn't about German. It was about somebody. It was about a man. And I woke up from the dream and I said, I think that man is a German man. But we weren't, I didn't have any recollection of speaking German. Although I do, from time to time, I still dream in German, even though it's been 20 years. The last time I spoke German was 2004. So it's been 20 years ago that I spoke German regularly, and I spoke it every day. I did, when I was in Germany, for the 15 to 20 years that I was in Germany, I did not speak English. I spoke entirely, the whole time I spoke German. I did not rely on English. I didn't have any pull towards English. Also, not normal for an American. But here's the thing, 2 weeks ago, I had this dream. I woke up from the dream, immediately started speaking flawless German again. And not only flawless German, I spoke German like I remembered things like idioms and sayings and all kinds of little things, little tiny things that are it's just mind-boggling. Like the language just like fell into my head again. The whole thing, the whole package. To this day, I still have it there. It's not only that I can understand anything. I can understand anything somebody says if they're not, if it's not like um legalese, some kind of German legalese that most Germans don't understand, right? Anything else I can understand. If it's not like some deep dialect from some little town on the border somewhere, I can understand it. And some of the dialects I can understand also. Not normal for an American who learned it as a second language. Not normal for somebody who for whom that's not their mother tongue. Another thing that doesn't make any sense. When I started speaking German when I was in Germany, all my friends told me, you must be reading some old books from 100 years ago. I was like, no. They said, well, we don't use those words. That's not how we say that. And then they would correct my German because when I started speaking German, I was speaking a dialect from another German speaking country. So I believe that I came from another country, Switzerland, Austria, Liechtenstein, I don't know, or some small town in the mountains in Germany, because my German that I spoke when I started speaking was a dialect. I started out speaking not High German. I wasn't reading anything. I just started speaking. This is not normal. And I don't know how I know the German. I don't know why I remember dreaming in German when I was a kid. I don't know. I don't know if I'm living in a simulation. I don't know if I'm a clone. I don't know if I was kidnapped as a child. I don't know what happened to me, but none of this makes sense. And there's a whole palette of other things, like hours and hours and hours of recordings of me talking about different things that happen that make no sense. Because I believe in conspiracies. Because I believe that our government is up to no good. My first suspicion goes that way. As they say, mein erster Verdacht. Mein erster Verdacht liegt bei der Regierung der Vereinigten Staaten. So the first suspicion I have is the government of the United States, that they did something, because they were occupying Germany from up until when did they leave Germany? They were in fucking Germany until the 70s, I think. I can't remember for sure, but I know that they were they have bases all over Germany. They probably still have bases all over Germany, but they were in Germany, like actively in Germany for like a long time. But they left Austria in 1955. This is a year before I supposedly was born. I think I'm older. I think I'm older because I remember knowing how to read and write in cursive handwriting before I went to school. And another thing is that my mother, I wrote poetry. When I was a little tiny kid, I wrote poetry. My mother came in my room and collected all of those things and burned them in the stove in the basement. And my entire life, people have been, for some reason, the things that I write and etc. It all gets, and it goes missing. None of this makes sense. I don't know if I was part of some experiment. I don't know if I'm still part of some experiment. And what I said at the beginning of this recording, I'm very suspicious of everyone because I also remembered that I've had therapists, many therapists I have dealt with. I have dealt with many therapists, 5, 6, I don't know how many. And always for some reason the therapy stops. Like like right away almost. Like every time. And this therapist, this is the only time I've had one that for this long. Like that like a that you know. And I find it very ironic that just right now, when I'm starting to make progress and to figure out that I'm not crazy, something happened to me that's not normal, and the evidence that I'm coming up with would suggest that somebody is manipulating me for some reason. So now, just at the point where I'm starting to make progress, now she decides that she has to go and leave her job and go and have her own business. Well, congratulations. But that makes me even more suspicious. But I decided I'm going to take a chance because they're probably listening anyway. They probably know everything anyway. And maybe they don't. Maybe they don't know everything. And maybe I'm giving it, like, maybe I'm laying my cards on the table. Maybe now everybody can see my hand. I don't know. But I want the fuck out of here. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know who to talk to because this story, nobody's gonna believe. Everybody's gonna say that I'm crazy. Everybody's gonna say that, the thing that the inner critic constantly tells me, this gaslighting. Everybody's gonna gaslight me if I tell them. But the thing that the thing that proves it to me, the thing that I cannot get around, the thing that I cannot overlook is that I speak verdammt nochmal perfektes Deutsch. Perfect. Yeah, 20 years I haven't spoken, so hin olvida mal. Every once in a while, there's going to be a little bit of, I'll use the wrong word. What did I say the other day? Eingeweicht. I said eingeweicht. Eingeweicht instead of eingeweiht. Yeah, I'm gonna mix up the words every once in a while, and that's pretty funny. Eingeweicht instead of eingeweiht. Eingeweiht. I said instead of enlightened, I said like soaked. Einweichen instead of einweihen. To soak instead of to enlighten. Okay, so it's pretty funny sometimes when I get the words mixed up. But for somebody who didn't speak for 20 years, I speak fucking perfect German, and it's not possible. It isn't possible. How is that possible? And when I speak in German, the English goes, I can't remember English. It goes away. What the hell is going on? Somebody tell me what the hell is going on. That's it. That's alles. There's a whole raft of stuff. There's like tons and tons of things that I haven't spoken about. Memories that don't make sense. Things that don't add up. I can look back on my life and I can see, for instance, all of these therapists that I had before. When I'm looking back, there's a pattern, and I can tell that those were not therapists. They were not therapists. They did not behave the way a therapist has to behave. If a therapist is trained, they would never behave like that. The way those people behaved, none of them. Those were all agents. They were all people who were checking up on me. That's the only reason. I don't know how, I don't know in how, like inwieweit, I don't know how much they control my mind. I do know that I was in South India and that the man who supposedly claims to be a guru in that ashram is actually a military person. He's some kind of an intelligence operative, and that he was doing experiments on wireless mind control, and I know that that's what he was doing with us. Not only through my own experience, but because another person that was in the ashram also complained that that's what was going on. That man unfortunately has passed away. I can't talk to him now. So that man was doing wireless mind control on me. So what else has been going on before that and after that? There's a ton of stuff. There's I could write a whole book right now of all of the shit that's happened that doesn't make any sense unless you consider that maybe I was in a part of an experiment. If you consider that I was maybe a part of an experiment, or that this is that we live in a simulation, then my life makes sense. Outside of those two possibilities, or maybe two or three possibilities, nothing makes sense in my life. So, bitteschön. Mach damit, was du willst. But don't tell me that I'm crazy, because I'm not. Somebody's trying to make me crazy. That's possible. And people are going to gaslight me and tell me that I'm crazy. That definitely will happen, but I am not. Bin ich nicht lebensmüde. Keineswegs. I'm not tired of living, because I really want to find out. I want to find the answer. I want to know what happened to me. Who did this to me? And I know that my chances are very, very slim for finding this, but I'm a person without a name. I don't know where I came from. I don't know who I came from. I don't know where my people are, but I had a dream about a man. I had a dream about a man who had a very, very odd type of face and head. And I couldn't put it. I was like, I've never seen anybody like that before. And I felt like that was that we were connected some way, related some way, and I felt something about him, and we were just joking and laughing the whole night while I was asleep. And then 2 3 days later on the internet, I'm looking up some things in some European countries, and I came across that type of face and that type of head. I was like, oh my god, I never saw anybody like that before. I came from some mountain region, and I think I know where I came from. I don't want to keep talking because there's just too much. It's just too much. There's too much stuff that just like has happened lately. I just want to say, if this Alexis person is a real therapist who's really, really wants to help, then she'll work with me to find a way that I can keep going. And I'm really considering, I don't know how to do it to get that money together because I don't have $160 for a session. I don't. But somehow I have to keep this going. And I don't want to be where I am right now. I don't want to be in Mexico. What am I doing here learning Spanish? I want to go back to my home. And I certainly don't want to die here. I want to die where I came from. I want to go back to the mountains where I came from. I know I came from some mountains. I came from the mountains. They always say, they would always say, like, imagine a place, where you feel like completely like at home and you feel relaxed and imagine this place. And what did I always imagine? Because they say either, like, you'll go either to the mountains or you'll go to the ocean. My mind always went to the mountains, and not just any mountains, but to a specific type of mountain. I know approximately where I came from that and other things that have happened in the last 2 weeks. I know where I came from. And I want to go to the embassy and talk to these people, but I'm really concerned because, like, this is like crazy speech, For them, this is going to be crazy speech. Like, who is this crazy person coming here saying, But the name that's in my passport, I guarantee you that's not my name. Something was bothering me my whole life, and I ran all around the world trying to figure out what it was. I went everywhere trying to find somebody who could tell me what the fuck was going on. Problem is, I'm surrounded by them. So they were always like, cutting me off, sending somebody to talk to me who was going to lie to me. So I've been lied to my whole life, and I'm tired. I want to go home. I want to be with my people, and I don't want to play this game anymore. I'm done. I'm really done. I've had enough. And this English language, I don't care if I ever hear it again. Because my mother tongue is not English. My mother tongue is German. And I know it for 100%. For 100% fact, I know that my mother tongue is German. Either that, or this is a fucking simulation, or I'm a fucking clone. Any of the three. Any of the three. I was part of some damn experiment, or I'm a clone, or it's a simulation. One of the three. Those are the only things that I can think of. Can you think of anything else? If you can think of anything else that explains it, let me know. But no, there's no possibility that I'm crazy. I am not. 100%. I spent my whole damn life trying to figure out what the hell was going on. And now, when I get a little bit close to it, this therapist takes a hike. That makes me suspicious too. And I didn't realize until the last 2 weeks that I've had a lot of therapists. I've forgotten about it. How is it that I can forget these things? Somehow forget that, oh yeah, that's right, I had 4 or 5 other therapists, and they all just like stopped suddenly. Das reicht. It's a little bit, it's enough now. It's sufficient for the day.